my creator and answer for every shot that I took.
I'll pick it up. Drop it.
Scenes from the biggest movie in America right now, American Sniper, depicting the life of the late Chris Kyle. Welcome to Hour 2 of America's Forum, alongside Miranda Kahn, J.D. Hayworth, and joining us now, Robert Vera, someone who has an inside perspective not only on Chris Kyle's story, but the story of one of Kyle's close friends. A warrior's faith, Navy SEAL Ryan Jobe, a life-changing firefight, and the belief that transformed his life. Robert Vera, welcome as you phone in from Phoenix here on America's Forum. It's good to have you here, sir.
Good morning, sir. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
You bet. Robert, you focus on Ryan Jobe. We ran an interview that our own colleague John Bogman did with Chris Kyle 3 years ago. He specifically mentioned Ryan Jobe. What about Ryan Jobe's story and the interaction with Chris Kyle was most compelling to you?
Well, I watched that interview again last night, and as you know, Ryan Jobe dedicated his book, American Sniper, to Ryan Jobe. Chris Kyle dedicated his book to Ryan Jobe and to another fallen colleague, Mark Lee. Ryan, if you've seen the movie, you know that Ryan was wounded in Iraq. He was shot on a rooftop. Chris was adjacent to him on that very rooftop. And what was so compelling to me about Ryan and I became close friends. We lived nearby each other in Phoenix, Arizona. And what was so compelling to me about Ryan is that, despite all the obstacles he had to overcome, Ryan Jobe did not allow blindness, his injuries, or any of the seemingly, really difficult times that he had faced, not only, becoming a Navy SEAL, but after being shot. He did not allow that to be an obstacle to achieve excellence in his life. Not just, go on with his life, but achieve excellence.
Right, you said it was an opportunity for him to achieve greatness.
Yeah, it was really remarkable the way when I was writing the book, one of the editors asked me, did he ever complain? He must have had some times where he, bemoaned the fact that he couldn't see. I spent, literally for almost 2 years, we trained daily to do an Ironman triathlon. Ryan, this is something that, not many people would take on. I never heard Ryan once complain, ever, about being blind, about, what happened to him. If anything, Ryan told me that he was grateful. He said he was grateful that he was the one who was shot because he could take it. And he was grateful to have the opportunities that came to him once he was blind. As you may know, Ryan Jobe, he was an inspiration to other wounded veterans. He wanted to lead them and show them how to live a life after being wounded. He climbed Mount Rainier. 3 people die every year trying to climb Mount Rainier, and 50% of the people who attempt it don't make it. Ryan Jobe went to the top. He was a huge Seahawks fan. He unfurled the 12th man banner at the top of Mount Rainier and showed his pride for the Hawks. He was just an amazing guy, a really amazing guy.
And your personal relationship, now you mentioned it earlier, but it needs a little clarification in the 2 minutes that remain in this segment. You guys were training together for Ironman competition?
We did. Ryan and I met through a mutual friend who went through Bud's training with him. He introduced me to Ryan, and the first day I met Ryan, he told us a story about what happened to him on the roof, what happened to his friends. And then he turned to me and said, look, I hear you've done Ironmans. I have an opportunity to climb Mount Rainier, and I would love to do an Ironman. Do you want to train with me? And that started a friendship that lasted, until the day he died. I actually gave the eulogy at Ryan's funeral. We just became very close friends. He was an amazing guy.
Robert, we have to ask you, have you seen American Sniper?
I have.
And what did you think of it?
I really loved it. And, what it does show is that, and I think that many people will this will sink in, that the real war is right here at home. When our guys come home, they now start the real fight. All their friends, all their network, all their relationships they've left behind. They're either deployed or they're with the command somewhere. So when they come home And I think Chris's tragic story and Ryan's story is reminiscent of many, many returning veterans where, they go through a period of struggle. I was fortunate enough to know Ryan Job and to be, I think, perhaps, a conduit to translate the outside world to him or this world to him. And I think Chris had a friend in Chad Littlefield who tragically was killed with Chris, who was available to do that the same, but for Chris. But I love the movie, and what the movie does is it's about the warrior. It's not about the war.
Mindful of that, I hate to cut you off, Robert. Stay with us through the break. We'll come back. Robert Vera will give us his true opinion of the film and more when we come back. Stay with us.
It was the most realistic at just capturing that essence of what the Iraq War felt like. So that was great.
Congressman Adam Kinzinger of Illinois on CNN saying the box office hit American Sniper is the most authentic depiction of the Iraq War that he's seen. Let's continue our conversation now with Robert Vera, author of the book A Warrior's Faith, Navy SEAL Ryan Job, a life-changing firefight, and the belief that transformed his life. Robert, we started to get into this. You were talking about the motion picture American Sniper, and you were about to tell us before we had to go to break what really was the most important thing you took away from that film. So if you would continue, please, sir.
Thanks, sir. The most important thing I took away was the fact that this movie, it doesn't glorify war. It really glorifies the warrior. It shows, that these guys, look, Marines, when bullets start flying and people start dying, my friends who have served, they told me that, look, Marines, they're not thinking about dying for God and country. Marines die for Marines. They go and get their friends, and they're worried about taking them home. And that's what this is about. I mean, Chris gave his life trying to help a fellow veteran. I mean, that to me was so poignant and so powerful that people don't really, I guess at home here, don't really understand the brotherhood between all veterans, and that, they'll risk their own life to save their friend. I don't think there's any greater love than that. I mean, Ryan, he risked his life many times to save, his friends, and Chris literally was on the roof. I asked Chris Kyle, were you scared after Ryan got shot? Chris told me in his own words that, look, I was terrified. I knew that the sniper was still out there, and I knew I was going to get shot. But, I'd be useless to everybody if I got myself shot over on the other side of the roof. So he said to me, if I was going to die, it'd be helping Ryan. And that, that was what the movie was about. It was about, guys out there risking their lives to save each other, to get each other home. And that's what my takeaway was. I think that many other veterans who I've spoken to, I think they feel the same way.
We have to ask you, though, this movie has not aired without controversy. As you may recall, former Minnesota Governor Jesse Ventura has been very critical of Kyle's book and the film, not calling him a hero. In fact, labeling him as a liar. Kyle claimed in the book that he punched Ventura at a bar for bad-mouthing the military. Ventura then sued for defamation, saying the whole incident never even occurred. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
You pursue a lawsuit for the truth. I would have been a big-time loser had I not pursued the lawsuit, because the lawsuit, the whole story was fabricated. I was accused of treason, which in the military is the death penalty.
What are your thoughts, Robert, when you hear Jesse Ventura saying, basically describing the book and describing Chris Kyle like that?
I knew Chris. He was a friend. I mean, I count him as a friend. I attended his funeral, and I guess it's sad for me to hear people call your friends those things. I guess anybody can say anything about anybody else and file lawsuits. So I mean, that's his prerogative. I think the other commentary that I've heard on the film, in some ways it's fascinating to me that that anyone in this country, we have the First Amendment. It allows anyone to say anything at any time. That's a piece of paper with words on it. It has no currency whatsoever if there's not the rule of law, and if there's not some young man out there standing post with a rifle to back up that rule of law. So Jesse Ventura and the others who have been able to criticize this movie and other sort of conservative values and the like, they've been given that right, literally given that right by
Robert,
men and women who are
we have about a minute left, and I just wanted to get to this. You talked about warriors coming back home. Spotlight has recently been on veterans. Sadly, your good friend Ryan Job passed away. Controversy about VA health care, controversy about really taking care of veterans in general. In the minute that remains, what do you want people to get from your book, and do you think we're now paying more attention to our veterans?
I hope we are paying more attention to our veterans. I think it has heightened the issue of returning veterans, and I hope people come away with the fact that, Ryan invested in his faith. He invested it, and in doing that, it transformed his life from to extraordinary, from what was already an amazing life, but it transformed him to extraordinary. And I think what I would like to have people see about Ryan is that, he was an amazing guy. He really invested in his faith, and returning veterans, they really don't want anything. They just want people to understand the sacrifice and to thank them. And having said that, I know you have a lot of veterans who listen and watch your show. I'd like to say, on behalf of myself and my family, thank you.
And we echo that. We also want to thank you, Robert Vera, the author of A Warrior's Faith, Navy SEAL Ryan Job, a life-changing firefight, and the belief that transformed his life. Again, our thanks to Robert Vera, and we're coming right back.